Hello, and welcome to Eastern Roman history. In the early 14th century AD, in the Eastern Roman Empire, the grand logothete and intellectual Theodore Metochites wrote about the ancient Greeks. This is one of the rare moments of Byzantine historiography about the ancient past, and the essay itself provides a fascinating analysis of ancient Greek history and their historians. Theodore Metochites was born in Constantinople and was one of the foremost intellectuals of his day. He was a personal friend of the Emperor Andronicus II Palaiologos and served as his prime minister from 1321 to 1328. This was during the First Palaiologan Civil War and the uneasy co-rule of the emperors Andronicus II and his grandson Andronicus III. Metochites had first been introduced to Andronicus II back in AD 1290 and had a highly successful political career. However, it was dramatically cut short in 1328 when he and his master were deposed when the civil war resumed. Andronicus III took Constantinople by betrayal during the night. Theodore Metochites himself lost his house in the city when the mob looted and burned it. Metochites' property was confiscated, and he was exiled to Didymoticon. For an educated and wealthy Constantinopolitan, to be forced to leave the city was a fate worse than death. He was so upset he even wrote an ode to commemorate the obliteration of his house. After 2 years he was pardoned and returned to become a monk in the Kora monastery he had restored. He died on the 13th of March, 1332. During the 1320s, Metochites, who was a major patron of the arts and culture, collected together his essays on various subjects called the Moral Essays, 3 of which record Metochites' thoughts regarding the ancient Greeks. The current video concerns Essay 93, which demonstrates Metochites' thoughts regarding ancient Greek history, its historians, and why it was remembered in Roman culture above all others. A note on how we remember and have accounts of everything regarding the Greeks, both their great deeds and trivial matters. We have devoted an extraordinary amount of attention and study to all that the Greeks did, and everything said about them, both to things that were great and to those that were not, the latter perhaps deserving only passing comment. Everything about them had been stored up in memory by the historians, and there is almost nothing that has not, including their speeches and sayings and deeds, some involving foreign peoples and others only each other. Now, some of these are perhaps worthy of admiration, and certainly merit being remembered, but others deserve to be forgotten once and for all, being the sorts of things that happen in life always and everywhere, both in the past and now, and have no greatness or novelty about them at all. At all times the earth is full of such things among all nations and all manners of people, even those of humble fortune and common way of life. But when it comes to the Greeks, everything that they did in ancient times has been dignified by the accounts of their historians, so that we remember what the Athenians, Lacedaemonians, and their allies did against the Medes by land and by sea. Certainly, those were superlative deeds, and most worthy not only for the Greeks, but any other people anywhere else. Thus they were justly ranked amongst the greatest deeds performed by anyone in the whole of time. They also record what these two cities, the leaders among the Greeks, did to each other, along with their respective allies, but then also what happened to the Seriphians collectively, and also perhaps to some of them on a private basis, or to the Melians, Scythians, Sicyonians, or other small towns in the Peloponnese, or elsewhere on the Greek mainland, or on some small islands in the Aegean. Now one might deem the Greeks most fortunate because their deeds had the special honour to be commemorated in the praiseworthy language of Herodotus, Thucydides, and Xenophon, which is so closely studied by scholars, or by other historians whose works may have a claim to learned attention. For just how many similar things have taken place among other nations from the beginning of time, things that are still happening but are not commemorated anywhere, or even greater and bigger deeds containing every manner of virtue, clever plans, timely speeches, and the character of men, all of them worthy of admiration. We know nothing whatsoever about them, nor are we in a position to use them as examples in our orations and discussions, in contrast to the abundance and variety of Greek material that we have, which is due to their historians, whom we are especially required to study. For my part, I am delighted and, how to put it, downright amazed when I see often how some ancient writers, and, no less, some of our own writers too, study the books of those men who experienced momentous events and circumstances, converse with them, and use them for the purpose of composing and structuring their own orations, by taking examples and parallels from the ancient feats and sayings of the Greeks. This is how they attempt to approach their themes and accomplish their goals, and it was many who made timely use of such exemplar when addressing the Roman Caesars of old, the masters of virtually the entire earth and its seas, or since then, when addressing some of our emperors, or illustrious leaders, or men of great fortune. Namely, they would mention that some Athenian citizen, or a Lacedaemonian, Theban, Megarian, or even what an Erythraean or Aeginetian happened to do or say, when he met some other person of the same type. And the audience does not find it beneath its dignity to hear this, nor the speakers to say it, nor do they refrain or are turned off by the sheer smallness of these people. How could we fail to notice or take it in a good spirit when we consider that whenever an orator is eager to praise or exhort to noble action an Augustus or a Trajan among the Caesars, or among our own, a Constantine the Great or Theodosius, or any others who are among the greatest and most illustrious men, equivalent to those whom I just mentioned, even if slightly inferior, at any rate close to them in nature if not in fortune, that the orator, then, every time he structures his speech around exemplar, remembers to cite what some or other Athenian did or said at one time, whether he was among the most powerful and proud, such as Pericles, Themistocles, Iphicrates, or Conon, or anyone else for that matter, or at Sparta, an Agesilaus, Callicratidas, Brasidas, and Lysander, at Thebes an Epaminondas and Pelopidas, and later in the towns of the Achaean League, Philopoemen and Aratos. But it might also be someone from those same Greek cities who is deemed wretched. Whatever it was he said or did that caused him to be condemned, such as Demades, Cleon, Hyperbolos, Anytos, Meletos, Lycon, Aristogiton, Phoebidas, and Sophodrias, or anyone else from that bad group. Every habit, deed, and saying of all these men have been passed down to posterity forever, and to us by the wonderful language of the historians who have been so celebrated. And yet how many similar things have happened among other nations, and how many men have lived through even greater events, whether they fared well or not in them. People are always living through such events, but are deemed worthy neither of mention nor commemoration, not even among those closest to them in time, space, and residence, far less among those who live long after them. I believe that the explanation for this may be the following, namely that when we have Greeks speaking about Greeks, it is entirely plausible that they will remember their own affairs and history, write it down, honour it, deem it worthy of commemoration, and transmit it through time down to us, who are of the same race, and who share and have inherited their language. Perhaps then a similar thing has happened among other nations, as happened with us, namely that they have honoured in their own writings and memory the speeches and affairs of their own predecessors and ancestors, transmitting them to their own posterity in a format which they can readily use. So that just as we are ignorant about them, because the Greek historians neglected to write about them, So too, perhaps our affairs are quite unknown to them because their historians did not bother to investigate anything about us. There is another video that covers the second essay that Metochites wrote concerning the history of the ancient Greeks, a link to which can be found in the description and pinned comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much to my generous patrons for your support, and this has been Eastern Roman History.